Chapter 4, Ceres Orbital Resort. John woke with a pounding headache, the kind that made his teeth hurt. The dream lingered in his skull like smoke. Some guy sitting in front of his bed, talking to him like they'd known each other for years. Weird. He blinked at the ceiling, then looked to the foot of the bed where the guy had been. The chair was still there. He frowned. He'd never leave a chair there, not in front of the bed. The dream wasn't a dream. He swung his legs out of bed and dressed, the unease gnawing at him like a loose tooth. The port station buzzed with the usual chaos. Ships idling at the docks, some lifting off, others locking in for maintenance. John barely registered it. His mind was locked on Dock 7, about 100 meters down the causeway. As he approached, he saw the ship, sleek, about 400 meters long, with a central body that practically begged for speed. 4 wing-like structures branched off the core, and the bridge sat high at the back, commanding. The name painted on the hull, bold and unmissable, Rains Eclipse. A few moments later, Will Coniston, his old first officer, the last person he expected to run into here.
Will?
John said, his voice rougher than he intended.
What the hell are you doing here? You were supposed to be patrolling Martian orbit.
Will offered a tight smile, the kind that carried more resignation than amusement.
Hermes was around a quarter way to Mars when Earth Coalition flagged a transfer, some last-minute reassignment to a ship back on Ceres. No explanation, just an automated ping, like it was no big deal. Hermes rendezvoused with a civilian liner mid-transit, pulled me off like lost luggage, and here I am, still waiting for someone to tell me why. Apparently, I'm assigned to this boat. Looks like you got to.
John exhaled slowly, his mind catching up.
I am glad to see you here.
John's voice was low, almost thoughtful, as if speaking the words made them more real.
It seems fate's decided. We'll be bringing Lana back, together.
Will turned, a flicker of confusion shadowing his expression.
Bringing her back? From where?
John didn't answer right away. He looked past Will, toward the bulkhead, as if the truth were written there in rivets and steel.
It's a long story, but I'll tell you in a moment.
As the airlock slid open with a soft hiss, Captain John Torridon and his first officer, Will, stepped onto the ship. They were immediately greeted by a woman in her late 20s with long black hair and perfectly cut bangs, standing in a dark uniform that had Omega insignias of the Black Omega Authority. She wore sunglasses, which, John thought, was a bit much for the dim lighting on the ship.
Captain,
she said, sliding the sunglasses off to reveal sharp green eyes.
Athena?
John said, surprise lacing his groggy voice. She was just as he remembered, dark hair, sharp eyes, and that damn smirk, like she knew a secret that would break you if she decided to share it.
Surprised, Captain.
Athena's voice was as smooth and mocking as it had been over the rim of her whiskey glass the night before. John rubbed his temple, more out of habit than any real need.
Didn't think I'd see you again after last night. Thought you were just another traveler here to drink and disappear.
She shrugged casually.
Oh, I am a traveler.
He stepped closer, glancing at the ship behind her.
What are you doing here?
I'm Athena Somerset, Rain's tactical officer.
Will opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say his name, Athena interrupted with a smirk.
I know who you are, Mr. Coniston.
John chuckled softly.
Yes, you're famous now.
Will shot him a sideways glance, then returned his focus to Athena. Despite her relative youth, she carried herself with an air of authority, tempered by a slight chill in her demeanor. This was someone who'd seen enough not to be impressed easily.
I'll guide you to the bridge,
she said, turning with practiced efficiency. As she moved, a muted click issued from her boots, maglocks engaging with the deck plating, each step accompanied by the faint, deliberate tug of magnetic adhesion. Behind her, both John and Will followed suit, a soft sequence of clicks marking the activation of their own magnetic boots. Upon walking deeper into Rain's eclipse, Athena's voice cut through the ship's ambient hum, Not loud, but with the kind of clarity that demanded response from any listening system.
Rain's Eclipse, this is Athena. Initiate Command Access Protocol. Grant full navigational, weapons, and support systems access to Officers John Torridon and Will Coniston. Authorization level Gamma 02.
A pause followed. The ship's core systems responded with the clipped neutrality of an aging synthetic voice, female in tone but stripped of warmth, as if echoing from the hull of the vessel itself.
Access protocol acknowledged. Full command authority granted to Senior Officers Torridon and Coniston.
They moved through the honeycombed passageways of Rain's Eclipse, hull plating whispering underfoot, conduits pulsing like veins just behind the walls, until John slowed, something catching at the edge of his perception. A pressure differential, maybe. A shift in the hum of the floor beneath his boots. A vertical circular chamber opened before them, 20 meters across, the center slowly rotating in no rush to please anyone. Inside, curved couches and deep seats cradled the perimeter, suspended in gentle rotation. The air shimmered slightly with the difference in gravity. Will had already stepped inside, eyes narrowed, testing the spin beneath his magnetic boots like an old soldier checking footing before a duel.
That changes some things,
He said, not specifying what. Athena, still just a step behind them, but already half inside the room's memory, spoke with the tone of someone revealing a private delight.
I call it a relaxation lounge. One of my favorite spots on Rain's Eclipse. Just after the armory.
A smile touched her voice, not her lips.
The rotation is adjustable. It can simulate Earth's standard gravity at 10 RPM, though I keep it at 8. More forgiving. Easier to dream in.
As they followed Athena through the long, metallic corridors and up several lifts, Will, never one to miss an opportunity for small talk, leaned in.
So Athena, how'd you end up in the Black Omega Authority? Not exactly a run-of-the-mill career path.
It's a long story, Mr. Coniston.
She replied without turning around.
When an earthquake hit Alaska, I have lost my parents. The Black Omega Authority picked me up, trained me, and turned me into one of their operatives. There are still a few relatives in Europe, scattered.
She glanced away.
I meant to visit, but life has a way of folding in on itself when you're not looking. It's been years since I've seen them, though. I lived a busy life recently.
John cut in, steering the conversation back to business.
All right, Athena. If we're heading into Nova Concordia space, how exactly are we going to outmaneuver their ships? Everything built on Earth tends to be about twice as slow.
Athena didn't miss a beat.
Well, Captain, not everything on this ship was built on Earth.
Will raised an eyebrow.
Wait, did you nick the engines from the Nova Concordia somehow?
Athena's smile widened, this time with a hint of amusement.
Our engineers have made some modifications. Let's just say we'll be fine.
By the time they reached the bridge, John had a creeping sense that this mission was going to be anything but straightforward. The bridge itself was impressive. A giant window stretched across the front, the room more oval inside than it appeared from the outside. 3 command chairs dominated the center, with battle stations lining the walls. John wasted no time.
All right, I want to see what are Rain's capabilities. Undock the ship and set a course for the abandoned Tau station.
Athena got into the right side chair, looked at her battle station and tapped a few controls. John crossed his arms, studying her.
What kind of weaponry are we packing, Athena?
She didn't even look up.
4 internal high-caliber railguns, heavy drones, missile systems, and my personal favorite, stellar fusion lances.
John blinked.
What the hell are stellar fusion lances?
Athena turned, her face lighting up with a bit of pride.
Oh, it's our special little toy. Ever wonder why we've got 4 fusion reactors on this recon cruiser? The stellar fusion lance fires concentrated solar flares that mimic the power of a small star. One hit and even the toughest hulls will melt like butter.
Will whistled low, clearly impressed.
There's always a catch, though, right?
Athena nodded.
Naturally. The range is limited, and after about 10 shots, the reactors start taking a hit. We're looking at major power loss. Engines, life support, everything takes a nosedive. We could turn into a very expensive, very vulnerable sitting duck.
John shook his head, grinning.
Of course, because nothing's ever simple.
Athena shrugged.
You want simple, Captain. Buy a cargo hauler.
As Rain's Eclipse drifted closer to Tau Station, Captain John Torridon leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. The station loomed ahead, a massive, dead hulk floating silently in space.
This used to be a military lab.
John began, his voice casual, as if he were describing an old restaurant that had closed down.
Reinforced hull, top-of-the-line tech back in the day. It's abandoned now, but every now and then some scavengers think they'll hit the jackpot. Maybe find something dangerous enough to blow themselves up, or worse, someone else.
Will, his first officer, glanced at him.
Sounds like a wholesome family outing.
Yeah, if your family's into black market weapons and long walks through irradiated corridors.
He pointed toward the station.
Set orbit at 10,000 kilometers.
Got it.
Will replied, already tapping at the controls. John looked over to Athena, who was sitting at the weapons console.
Athena, let's start things off light. Hit the hull with the railguns. I want to see how Rain holds up.
Athena didn't even bother looking up.
Easy target.
She muttered, as if the whole thing was beneath her. A holographic display flickered into existence in the middle of the room, showing the station and all heat signatures floating around it. The railguns began to fire, each shot slamming into the station's hull with bright flashes. John watched as the station absorbed the hits. The reinforced hull was lightly damaged. John tilted his head, unimpressed.
That's cute. Will, bring us in closer. Set orbit of 500 kilometers.
Will gave him a raised eyebrow, but complied.
Cutting it close, aren't we? Just making friends with the debris field, I guess.
Debris is polite, John replied. It doesn't shoot back.
The ship rumbled as it adjusted its orbit. John tapped his chin thoughtfully.
All right, I don't want to waste any missiles, ammo's tight, and I'd rather save them for something that shoots back. But those stellar fusion lances, let's fire off exactly 11. I want to see what happens when we push this thing.
John blinked. Athena looked at him sideways, a smirk tugging at her lips.
You've been itching to use those things since we left dock, haven't you?
John grinned.
Don't pretend you aren't curious.
Athena sighed, more for effect than anything else, and redirected 70% of the ship's power to the lances. The ship hummed louder, the lights dimming as the system charged. 11 brilliant beams shot out from the Eclipse, slicing through space and punching into the station's hull like red-hot needles. As promised, they cut straight through, leaving glowing holes as chunks of the station broke off and drifted away. Rain's Eclipse, however, wasn't looking too hot either. The lights flickered, and the power readings dropped sharply. The ship slowed, its engines barely limping along at 20%. Will raised an eyebrow.
Well, look at that. We've got ourselves a fancy light show and a power outage. A 2-for-1 special.
Temporary.
Athena cut in, though her tone was far too amused for John's liking. The ship's systems gradually came back online, but John couldn't help but grin at the damage they'd caused.
Well, at least we know it works.
Yeah, and it turns us into a floating tin can for a solid minute. Perfect for anyone who wants to take a cheap shot.
Athena shrugged.
A minute's nothing. Besides, it was worth the show, don't you think?
Will gave a small, knowing smile.
Next time, Captain, maybe we'll try not to blow out the power in the process?
Where's the fun in that?
John replied, eyes gleaming as the station debris floated past the ship. John leaned back in his command chair, watching the last of the station debris drift off into the void.
All right, enough playing around. Set course for the Jupiter system. Time for our next big adventure. Rescue mission, no less.
Athena's voice cut in, calm, but with a faint edge of annoyance.
Captain, about that. It seems our little light show with the stellar fusion lances didn't go unnoticed. Heat sensors just picked up a frigate-sized ship on an intercept course. Looks like a pirate or a scavenger, probably rerouting from their usual patrol.
Will turned in his seat, looking far too amused.
Let me guess. Under normal circumstances, they'd never catch us. But because they're coming from the Jupiter side, We've got a date with them whether we want it or not.
Pretty much.
So what's your brilliant suggestion, Athena?
We've got two options, Captain. 1, we burn hard, get in range, and drop them with a missile spread at 100,000 kilometers. Clean. No warning. 2, we take the long road, plot a course they can't easily follow. Safer for now, but it adds a day or two to the trip. If it's my call, I say we shoot first and keep moving. Let someone else bury the bodies.
Will let out a low chuckle, shaking his head.
Mercy isn't really the Black Omega Authority's strong suit, huh?
Athena's eyes flicked toward him, the faintest hint of a smile curling at the edge of her lips.
No, but we are very efficient.
John leaned back in his seat, rubbing his temples.
Athena, while I appreciate your, let's say, direct approach, their frigate is no match for us anyway, so in this case, I prefer to set an extended course.
Athena allowed herself a smile, thin, precise, and utterly devoid of warmth.
What a noble approach, Captain.
She said, the words folding neatly around a blade no one could quite see, but everyone felt. Captain John Tord and leaned back in the wide cushioned seat. The captain's quarters aboard Rain's Eclipse weren't massive, but they didn't need to be. A viewport behind his desk looked out over the ship's flank and the drifting void beyond. The room itself was a study in contrasts. Carbon composite walls inset with panels of real wood. Matte-finished metallic tiles broken occasionally by beveled omega symbols that caught the light like a threat pretending to be art. Will Coniston, his XO, sat opposite with a half smirk.
Admit it, these quarters beat the crap out of Hermes' sardine can layout. Should we start getting used to it, Captain?
Feels like this is home now. For a while, anyway.
There was a pause. Then John asked.
What's your read on Athena?
Will exhaled through his nose.
Physically? An athletic as hell Black Omega operative. Personality-wise? About as warm as a vacuum breach.
Not surprising. Her kind aren't known for their bedside manner.
Will nodded slowly.
From what I've heard, they're trained young. Earthborn, indoctrinated, turned into spies, assassins, cleaners. I always figured they were Earth internal muscle though, politics, subversion. Not field agents making interplanetary trips through the belt.
Apparently that's changed.
Will raised an eyebrow.
How the hell did you even meet her?
John's smile was all corners and irony.
Ceres Station. Bar off Dock 6. You wouldn't believe it.
Will gave him a hard look.
And Lana? That fast, huh?
John's smile faded.
It wasn't like that. I wasn't looking for anything. Just a drink and some silence.
Uh-huh. So, do you trust Athena?
John looked away.
That's the question, isn't it?
Will nodded grimly.
If I had to guess, for her, the mission is everything. And if there's a second mission wrapped inside the first, I'd bet a month's rations she's the one carrying it.
A beat of silence stretched between them.
Remember how you met Lana? The awful moment telling the whole room that Martian archaeology was a joke? In front of a freshly minted PhD.
How was I supposed to know it was her presentation?
You weren't. And somehow she still ended up dating you. I'll never understand it.
Yeah, me neither. I wonder how she holding. Who kidnapped her?
The quiet that followed wasn't companionable. Jupiter lay ahead, a bruised giant looming behind encrypted telemetry. Inside the ship, systems cycled, crew routines calcified, and the silence deepened into something measurable.